Welcome to the FABLOW AgriLife podcast, where we promote better living for healthy Texans. Every episode will cover a health or wellness topic, as well as some lifestyle challenges that we face.
Hello, welcome to our FABLOW podcast. And on our last episode, we read an article by one of our Healthy South Texas specialists, David Leal. And we actually have him here to interview a couple of questions with him today. So I'm just going to let him introduce himself and tell us his role with Extension.
Hi, my name is David Leal. I'm one of an 18-member Healthy South Texas specialist team, and I'm very happy to be here in B County. Healthy South Texas is a collaboration between Texas A&M AgriLife Extension and the Texas A&M Health Science Center to try to help manage and reduce chronic disease risk in especially 27 South Texas counties.
All right.
So I travel around a lot and try to support agents as as best I can, doing a lot of the program called Cooking Well with Diabetes, but support Dinner Tonight Healthy Cooking Schools and anything else an agent asks for.
He is very, very helpful. Anytime that he's available, he's hands on deck helping out. We really, really greatly appreciate you for all the work that you help us with.
Thank you.
So the group, we all kind of compiled a couple of questions just to ask you, and some of it has to do with the article that you had written. So we're just going to kick it off, and we'll start with the first one.
Sure.
All right. So lifestyle changes are hard to adapt. Do you recommend journaling to recognize the behavioral triggers that cause overeating or unhealthy habits?
Yes, if you're interested in journaling just to kind of increase a level of self-awareness to try to kind of think back and kind of try to problem solve and hack a regular situation where we find ourselves overeating. And they're in talking to people over, the last 15 years of being a nutritionist, it's any time that we don't have control of food. Church buffets and certainly the holidays are big opportunities. They're foods that, we didn't make. Birthdays and celebrations, this South Texas culture celebrates with food. So, and we try to celebrate with yummy food as we should. But a lot of your favorites on one table might lead to overeating. If journaling sounds like a good way to kind of reverse engineer the situation that led you to overeating, like you can say, okay, I went to the church potluck after Wednesday services, and maybe I realized I ate more than I was planning to. The journaling would help you say, oh, maybe I hadn't eaten in about 4 to 5 or longer hours. Maybe the journal would help you realize, my plate wasn't as balanced as I would have liked for it to be. Maybe it'll help you realize that in order for it to be more balanced, you taking some vegetables, or maybe suggesting that one of the other attendees take a dish of vegetables or some kind of salad that would really help balance out your plate. If you think that would be helpful, if journaling would provide that for you, then by all means, do so. But if journaling seems like it adds extra work, then just trying to be self-aware and kind of think about it. I think thinking about it would be helpful. But certainly journaling, you would be able to see, 3 times a week, this 4 or 5 or 6 hours without eating something, not having balance on your plate, not having, some healthy food choices to offset, kind of the traditional meat and potatoes. That could help establish a trend and help you realize, okay, I need to be wary of these potlucks and celebrations. So if you're up to it, by all means, yes, I think that's a great idea.
good to know. I actually journal myself, and it really, really helps, because one thing is I don't want to have to write down the food if I really don't need it, kind of a deal. And so it makes me kind of think twice before putting something unhealthy into my diet.
Absolutely. And just remembering, we are really not as self-aware of the food we're eating as I think we are. We tend to give ourselves a little bit of extra credit and not account for, the little cookies or little treats that we see that we kind of grab over and over again just as we walk by them. So we're not sitting down and eating them or putting them on a plate, but they're still count as calories because they're going in our mouth and tummy. So yes, journaling would help kind of recognize all those little pockets of 100 calories that certainly tend to add up and can make some weight loss frustrating.
Thank you for answering that. Not really switching gears, but on a different note.
Mm-hmm.
Your article mentions to eat breakfast. Does coffee count? Most people just drink coffee until it's lunchtime, and now there's the trend of the keto coffee, which is said to be a meal replacement. What are your thoughts?
What are our thoughts? Well, I think our schedules are very different, but lunch tends to be at the earliest noon, 12 o'clock p.m., midday on the dot, or later. And when we look at the time that we're waking up, 6 a.m., 7 a.m., kind of at the latest, that's being awake and rushing kind of, and I don't know how busy mornings are, but that's 5 or 6 hours of being awake and being active, possibly one of the more active times of the day without eating anything. So eating breakfast is attempting to control that, that desire to just, I want to go out to lunch and not care about, because when you are hungry, you want something delicious. Very rarely when we're very hungry, we don't tend to crave broccoli and spinach and, we don't crave a balanced plate. If you can do that, if you can basically fast from the night before during your sleeping time and all of the morning, not having eaten anything and still control your midday meal, then no, breakfast isn't exactly necessary. But frankly, I think most of us need some help in that. So breakfast is to try to offset that mid-morning, that lunchtime meal so that it's controllable and balanced, so that it's 3 or 4 ounces of lean protein and a side of vegetables and, a moderate amount of carbohydrate or starchy vegetables. It takes some effort to want to do that. So does coffee count? Coffee, fills your belly a little. So I think I am a coffee person and I'm not a breakfast person most days. So I kind of understand that, but definitely try to do a balanced lunch. Keto coffee, I saw keto coffee is going to essentially be coffee with some almond milk or coconut milk and some fat added to it. So and the recipes that I've seen are small amounts of fat, a teaspoon of butter and a teaspoon of, something like MCT oil or coconut oil. Basically, these are just adding saturated fats to coffee, but in teaspoon-sized portions. I don't really think that's contributing a lot of calories to the diet, to your day. Of course, I suppose there could be some coffees where you're adding tablespoons of butter or tablespoons of coconut oil. Well, that would be more. That would create about a 300 calorie cup of coffee, and I'm probably going to save that for some food later in the day. Working in nutrition and really behavior change for a while now, and focusing on diabetes and chronic disease, I think the bad things, the complications from those diseases happen with people that aren't doing anything, that are kind of just ignoring their disease or risk for the disease and aren't engaging in any kind of behavior to improve their health. So, a teaspoon of butter in your coffee and a teaspoon of MCT oil, if you think that that's helping you and it's only contributing 100 calories to your diet, I think that's fairly benign and not going to cause too much issues. If it's a tablespoon and now it's an extra 300 calories a day from your coffee, yeah, that 300 calories is exactly the amount that we're trying to cut to try to achieve, a pound of weight loss a week, along with that 200 calorie extra expenditure from like walking for 30 minutes, not some, hour running on the treadmill. Just 30 minutes of walking would contribute to a 200 calorie energy expenditure, and then subtracting that 300 calories from your keto coffee, that would really, that would help achieve a pound of weight loss a week. And that seems pretty sustainable and realistic.
Mm-hmm. That is realistic.
So breakfast, if you want, if you notice, your midday meal being a little, I call it being silly, heading to Sonic or, one of our fabulous restaurants here in Bevo where they might have, a chicken fried steak with mashed potatoes and gravy on green beans. Certainly that has the potential of being balanced, but in those portions they give us, it's a little harder, isn't it?
That's a key point that you're making of the portion sizes.
Yeah, nothing wrong with chicken fried steak and mashed potato and green beans, but of course they serve it Texas style and Texas size. So if you notice and I saw this with, the businessmen in downtown Corpus Christi eating out for lunch every day and eating big. It was just for them, that was the first suggestion in counseling them was, hey, your lunches, they're just big and not just a lot of carbs, but a lot of protein and a lot of fat. So that's what breakfast would hopefully curb. But if everyone's different and you don't have a problem controlling your lunchtime with just coffee, well then that's not the issue.
Okay. So your article also mentions that one of the habits people should create is to experiment with plant-based meals. Is there a recipe you like that people should try?
Yes. And plant-based, I would say just, I love salads, and I love salads with some carbohydrates in them. And I'm talking about beans. I love garbanzo beans and black beans. I love nuking a sweet potato or a Yukon Gold potato in the microwave. And, having half a cup to a cup of potato or bean with my salad greens and, grape tomatoes. I have these in my freezer. I have a cup and a half of, our Cooking Well with Diabetes hearty 2-bean minestrone. It's red beans and garbanzo beans and whole wheat pasta, and just comes out so wonderfully seasoned recipe. So I would really look at the bean soups. These are plant-based. Your highest, for a cup of beans, you're looking at 8 to 12 grams of fiber a day. That's a great amount. That fiber is very filling. And sure, there's a little fat, you're sauteing that onion for the base in some olive oil. And plant-based does not mean vegetarian. You can please have, if you're, kind of one of those people that needs to have, some animal protein in every meal. I understand. We live in Texas. So throw in some chicken. It's just, plant-based is, it's not just a side of broccoli, which is, gosh, I would love just a side of broccoli, but it's 2 different kinds of beans. It's some onion in that soup. It's a whole grain pasta. It's potatoes in your salad with beans, with salad greens. Just more than just, that one side of vegetable.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Really, really good point. And then it fills you up a little bit more as well.
Oh my gosh, you would be amazed just how quickly, even when we're serving like samples of meals like For Dinner Tonight Healthy Cooking School or Cooking Well with Diabetes classes, that, you're just getting a sample, but you're like, hey, I'm kind of satisfied with this. because it's a really you're getting protein, you're getting some fat from a healthy oil, you're getting and you're getting a lot of fiber and vegetables that are adding carbohydrates too.
That's a really good point, which kind of leads into this next question that we have. Adolescents sometimes aren't always getting enough of those veggies in their diet. And what are, I guess, some other ways that we can help, those parents, with children in that age group, where to get those vegetables in their diet?
I love adolescents because, you really need to put it on them and give them a certain amount of ownership. But they're also, that, they're experimenting more with freedom. The leash is maybe getting a little longer. We don't have so much direct control over them. So they're going to have their opportunities when they're out with friends to have some junk food, and make their own choices. So when they're with us, I would still encourage a variety of sides at dinner, broccoli or zucchini, or yellow squash, and vary the starchy vegetables also, sweet potato, Yukon Gold, corn. But remember, if they're in adolescence, in just a few short years, they're going to be independent, hopefully, and possibly even living on their own at school or just outside the house. So they need to learn some kitchen skills. And I would really encourage you to be like, okay, teenager, you're in charge of creating a vegetable dish, at least choosing which recipe we're gonna have to use, or you're gonna choose a vegetable in the produce section and look for 2 different ways to prepare it. We kind of start that with little kids. Of course, if young children younger than 8 are involved in the food preparation process, they're more likely to try the food. We know this. And teenagers, they're a little older, but that should apply. And you can certainly trust them a little bit more with knives without worrying too much in chopping, and cooking techniques and following recipes on their own. They should be able to help in the kitchen. So give them that control. Maybe they'll try eggplant. Maybe they'll try squashes, different squashes. Maybe they'll try a new kind of green like arugula or bok choy. So many wonderful things in the produce section that they can experiment with. And they are so internet savvy, they can look up recipes or look up cooking techniques.
That's very true.
Look up chopping techniques, and maybe we'll learn something from them. So really empower them and tell them, hey, you're going to be on your own soon. And don't forget, hey, if maybe they're not so interested, then they're going to go shopping in that frozen vegetable aisle and pick out some nice frozen vegetables, and maybe that you can still follow a recipe that they can find. We've had so much luck with our adolescent program participants. They discovered a salsa they can make in the blenders. So we had salsa in a blender bike, one of our blender bikes that everyone's so familiar with. And the teenagers found that. And it worked out great. It was a great recipe, wonderfully seasoned, low salt. You had comino and garlic. It was fantastic. They're capable of more in the kitchen than maybe we think.
I really like that, to empower the youth into participating in creating your dinner meals or any meal that you have together as a family. I really like that.
And they'll get the junk food. Not to worry. You're not depriving them of a normal, but you're going to make sure that when they're with you, that they're trying to branch out and try new things.
That's awesome. Thank you for that. How do you feel about intermediate fasting for weight loss? That's one of the latest health trends right now on social media.
So the idea with any kind of fasting or periods where you're just trying not to eat is that throughout the rest of the day, you'll just consume the calories you need throughout the rest of the day, but you're just kind of putting a block on a certain period of time. Fasting for 24 hours or longer, it doesn't seem healthy. I think you'll struggle with fatigue, and certainly there's religious reasons why we may fast. But like I said earlier, I am kind of for people doing what they feel like they need to do. I would maybe look at some of the potential downfalls of fasting. Like I said, you may have a lack of energy. You may develop the, what do we call it? crangry, kind of that combination of cranky because you're hungry. The body likes the status quo. The body likes, remember in biology, homeostasis. The body kind of likes to stay the same. So that's why weight loss is so difficult. The body is kind of wants the same amount of food it's been getting for the last several months at a time. And that's probably, if we're trying to lose weight, or carrying some extra weight, that's probably just a little bit extra. But like I said, 300 calories is all we kind of need to subtract in a day for those people that don't want to do the exercise. And I've heard from numerous people, it's just like, I hate exercise. My compromise with them was, okay, you're not going to. But instead of just 300 calories a day subtracting from your diet, you're going to subtract 500. And when you think of, honestly, it's really kind of easy to do that when you look at the calories in fast food and the portions at restaurant food and the sizes of sugary drinks. I mean, it's not too much. It's just kind of a matter of your own personal choices and what we're willing to live with that. We kind of need to maintain our quality of life in our diet, but also just with everything around us and break rooms and break room snacks and potlucks and work lunches and baby showers on the weekend, there's just ample opportunity for extra calories. But, for you, if you notice that, kind of going back to that journaling, if you notice like, hey, between, I have a free period and I'm a teacher and I have a free period between 2 and 3 and I happen to go to the break room and the teacher's lounge, and from what I hear, there's an abundance of extra calories kind of available for the taking. Then maybe an intermittent fasting between after lunch from 1 to 4, when you can get out of the school and away from all that temptation. Maybe that's fine. But I really wouldn't. Remember, after the fasting of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours, you still have to eat. Mm-hmm. So it's still a matter of controlling your appetite for that time. I mean, and wanting to control it with a balanced meal that's gonna kind of replenish all those hours without eating. But like I said, for so many people, the complications from chronic disease come from not doing anything. So if you feel like that's what you need to do at this moment right now, please look at some of the precautions. You don't want to be tired, you don't want to be hangry, but I'm all for you doing what you feel you kind of need to do right now. Mm-hmm. Of course, maybe discuss it with your doctor.
Or a registered dietitian.
Yeah. But, and certainly if you're taking, they're called hypoglycemic medications like insulin or sulfonylureas. A lot of those begin with the letter G, like glyburide or glipizide. Those are pushing your blood sugar down. So not eating with those is just super hangry, mm-hmm. super fatigued.
It's a really, really good point.
So please, all this is in a kind of a context without interfering with any medication. If you know you need to eat with your medication, then this fasting isn't going to work. Mm-hmm. But if we're healthy and we just need some weight loss, I'm all for you doing what you feel you need to do.
Last question for you today. What do you personally do to incorporate a healthy lifestyle?
Well, it's kind of, I kind of think about it a lot. And like I mentioned, I really enjoy salads that are just a little bit more filling. And it's kind of hard to find those. Sometimes a salad is just, a lettuce and a piece of tomato, and that's not very filling. So I do like adding beans to salads. I like adding potato. Potato kind of gets a bad rap, but there's no fat in a potato whatsoever. And I like measuring my salad dressing, 2 tablespoons. And I'm kind of thinking I've been doing, I've done 2 soups in a row. And soup, you're kind of partially getting full on liquid, but they're really easy to balance out. They're going to have vegetables. If you have beans, that's a high fiber protein. You can quickly add that shredded chicken. And I do exercise, but I'm just want to, if anything, for daily stress, just kind of getting if all you got in you is 15 minutes or 20 minutes of walking on the treadmill, that's just fantastic. It's still moving. It's still burning that 100 to 200 calories in just 15 minutes. Getting the circulation going helps with stress, helps put you to sleep at night. Workouts don't have to be torturous. Probably the next day would be a little more intense, and I just try to avoid calories from soda. Though my new thing is candy. I'm buying this one. I can't say the name, but it's a very sour candy. And since I drive so many places for work, I've been noticing that I've been picking that up to kind of nibble. So it's like, all right, well, that's just a silly thing that I've added. So you can think about just maybe once every 8 to 10 days. Okay, I can buy that. And, I never finished that candy in the car, but you know what? I'm going to leave it in the car. I'm not going to bring it into my apartment where I can mindlessly consume it with, mindless consuming, you're thinking of bags of chips. Yes. Salt and vinegar are my favorite, but also tortilla chips with salsa. I have very little control over those things in terms of when the bag gets opened. If okay, I'm going to consume 200 calories of this chip at this time. Yeah, no one does that. That'd be great if you did. At least you would know, okay. That's why those fitness trackers like MyFitnessPal or food apps like that, where you can track your food, are so helpful, because then you realize you're taking in these calories that could or could not fit into your diet. So I just kind of have to not buy those things. So for snacks, I like low-calorie yogurt. Everybody knows I have a banana around me a lot of times. So yeah, just making slightly more beneficial food choices and just trying to be aware of the food you're eating.
Thank you. You made some great tips, and thank you for answering all of our questions that we had for you. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be with you, and I'll see you later.
Yes. So just wrapping up, just stay safe, stay sweet, be mindful, and just breathe, and always stay fab.
You've been FABLOWed.